Hey guys, welcome back. It's your brother in Christ, Weston. Thanks for joining me today. So today's article comes out of InfoWars. Let's get into it. Okay, so we are 1 day out from the election. I have not voted yet. I was supposed to vote early and I didn't. So if you voted early, good on you. I'm gonna be out there with the crowds for hours probably. I was just looking for an article to go over, and I found something that it's just something we talk about here on our little corner of YouTube. Let's go into it. It says here, ex-Russian president, U.S. election won't change Ukraine war. Trump may get unalived by deep state if he intervenes. By deep state if he intervenes. This is what an ex-Russian president said. By the deep state, right? Who's supposed to be real but not real. They're like this idea of people that people have never really seen, but people claim they're real, and high officials or high people who are in power say they're real, yet we just don't know who they are. And so he says it. He's like, they're real. And says that he may get if he intervenes. So let's read. It says here, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, I'm saying that wrong, I know I am, claimed that the outcome of the U.S. election doesn't matter geopolitically because both candidates believe Russia must be defeated, and that if Donald Trump is elected, he may get unalived if he tries to wind down the Ukraine war, meaning Russia does not want that. Russia wants to bulldoze and demolish at all costs Ukraine, or at least remove the people from there and reclaim the land for themselves, or claim the land for themselves, should I say. Medvedev, now chairman of Russia's Security Council, made the remarks to his 1.4 million followers on Telegram. My word. The whole world stands frozen in uneasy anticipation, waiting for the results of the presidential election in the distant lands of the U.S. There's no reason why we should have high expectations about it. Number one, the outcome of the election will not change anything for Russia, as both candidates share the same bipartisan consensus that Russia must be defeated. Number two, Kamala is dumb, inexperienced, and easy to control. Yikes. That is what a superpower thinks of a vice president who's trying to run for president. And as strong as the language is, we all agree. The only reason why people would probably not vote for Kamala is because they hate Trump. Not because his policies aren't good or anything like that. They hate the person of Trump. But his policies are far greater, far better. He's far more experienced, and he's also been a president as well than Kamala has. And Kamala is out of her league here. And like, humble pie it up, Kamala. I don't think you want to be in this position. And maybe, we don't know, maybe she's being forced. I don't know. I always think there's somebody else pulling the strings, right? You know, somebody who's behind saying, do this, do this, do this, or I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. But it would not surprise me because of the deep state actors to say, Kamala, do this, or we're going to do this against you, you know? I don't know. I feel for that, because it felt like Joe was the same way as his time progressed throughout his presidential career, or at least his 4 years. It just seemed like he was a shell. Like, you know, I've seen several people like say like there's a mask, like the person that's out there is not him. And it's like, what is going on? What stuff like this? And it is more than plausible that some of these things are actually happening because everything's on the table. Remember, we always say that. Talking about aliens, UFOs, government secrets, stuff like that. The government is already saying and talking about. Everything is on the table. Let's continue. A low-energy Trump, Kamala's dumb, inexperienced, and easy to control, as she will be terrified of everyone around her. All the real decision-making will be done by a coterie of top ministers and advisors, plus indirectly the Obamas. Ooh, somebody knows. A low-energy Trump spewing cliches like I'll offer them a deal and I have a very good relationship with will be forced to comply with the system and its rules. He won't stop the war, not in 1 day, not in 3 days, not in 3 months. And if he actually attempts to do it, he could end up becoming the new JFK. They've already tried multiple times, one with an actual real shot, and then the other, because remember, somebody died that they missed. Somebody died for that bullet. That bullet missed Trump, but it hit somebody else. And I think there were either 2 or 3 other times that it's happened. A total of 3, maybe more. I could be missing it. It says, the only thing that matters is how much cash the new POTUS can squeeze out of Congress to finance someone else's war. I fought in a war, fought in a far-off land, cash to feed the American military industrial complex, and line the pockets of the Banderdite scum. I don't even know what that means in Ukraine. That's why, if we want to number 5, that's why if we want to please both candidates for the highest American office, the best thing to do on November 5th is to keep pummeling the Nazi regime in Kiev. Interesting. This comes as Medvedev, who served as Russia's president from 2008 to 2012, told RT in an interview on Saturday that Ukraine joining NATO could lead to WW3. We're just waiting. Remember, we've talked about the bomb. Somebody one day will have a graphic that's really good at it, and I'll maybe be able to have a graphical artist one day, by God's grace, who will make a bomb that we talk about. Not out of context, YouTube. A fake graph with the fuse no longer there, and it wants to implode, but the Lord's hands are covering it or the Lord is not letting it explode, right? He's like, nope, not ready, and it just wants to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the Lord's just, by God's grace, it has not exploded. There's no more fuse left. It's already exploded, technically inside. It just you haven't seen it, the catastrophe of the Lord holding it back. That's how I felt for the longest time. It feels like you're just on this tippy toe, eggshell type of situation where once it happens, there's no stopping it. And the ramifications that will come after it I don't think we can even comprehend what's going to happen. Outside of Bible prophecy, and even that, we still have a hard time of realizing what it will be with the technology we have, the civil wars, the hatred, the malice, the aliens, all kinds of stuff, Project Bluebeam, one world governments, antichrist stuff, like coming to a crescendo out through this thing, giving birth to the most evil, probably more evil than the flood of the earth, when all this stuff happens. So shortly before his death, already at a very mature age, Henry Kissinger, as if someone with regret, suggested that now we have no choice but to accept Ukraine into NATO. He told the outlet, I think that he was still mistaken, and he was still mistaken in this. There is no such predetermination, because choosing between vague promises and the possibility of starting a third world war, the choice is still quite clear. Yikes, dude. This guy's speaking with like I know that I know that I know, and I'm saying the quiet part out loud that you've never heard, that's behind doors and is talked about all the time. That's what this feels like.
Here's my take on what Henry Kissinger said. He was a wise man, and in that sense, a very significant figure. He certainly served his country, the United States, but he was also a worthy opponent and a capable negotiator in all sorts of formats. He said some things that were absolutely right, like the ones you mentioned. However, shortly before he passed, at a very advanced age, he admitted sort of regrettably that now the U.S. has no choice but to accept Ukraine into NATO. I think that's where he got it wrong. That outcome isn't set in stone, because when you're choosing between vague promises and the possibility of starting World War III, the choice is pretty clear.
Yikes. Ugh. God, I don't know what to think of that, man. That's pretty tough to listen to. Golly, dude, like oh man. Okay, let me save this right quick. But yeah, so as you know, just hearing somebody who's an ex-president in power say something like that. Let's see, Russian ex-pres, Henry Kissinger. Anyways, I do these things on the fly. So hearing that and just listening to the certainty of it is, it's not, I guess it's reality. It's so surreal. Like all the things you talk about, all the things you think about that have happened or haven't been talked about, they're so-called conspiracy theories, right? And then the next thing you know, you have some official in a capacity of some sort talking about the same thing, and you just realize like you probably know more than a lot of people, and yet just a lot of people don't want to believe it because they think it's fairy tales. Remember, the US lives in a bubble, and it makes you feel comfortable. And that is our biggest downfall, because we just don't believe it. And the outside world, I think, is just a fantasy land to us sometimes of what atrocities are happening out there. It says here, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky reiterated during his U.S. visit in September that becoming a NATO member was among Ukraine's key objectives in his newly unveiled victory plan. Medvedev also said the US and European political establishments are failing to take Russian nuclear threats seriously, and the fears of a new president will continue to prosecute the Ukraine war, since that's what the military-industrial complex wants. I get it. It's the new leader. It's going to be fiercely dedicated to adding fuel to the fire of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It'll be a very bad choice, he said, adding, because this is the road to hell. I'm not going to do the next one. You guys can watch that. It really is a road to World War III. Whoever decides to continue the war will be making a dangerous mistake. Trump in September pledged that if he wins the election, he will work to end the Ukraine-Russia conflict before he's even sworn into a second term. I want to get that done before I take office. I want to get it done as president-elect because it has to be solved, Trump said. Too many people are dying. Too many cities are just in rubble right now. You look at the cultures just being destroyed. We've got to get it done, and I'll get it done. Think about that. The weight of that statement, the weight of that thought, and then saying, like, you just can't imagine, like, a nuke just going off, seeing a mushroom cloud, and knowing it's too late for you. I can't imagine it either. Looking outside my window and going, it's too late. And thinking about everything, like, this isn't supposed to happen here. You see what I'm saying? It's raining, so that's why it's darker in here. So yeah, anyways, that's the video. I'm watching my son right now. That's the video, guys. If you like the video, be sure to like the video. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Let me know what you think about all this, and what you think is going to happen. And even up to the presidential election tomorrow, when this shows up, like, what's going to happen? Is there going to be civil unrest? Are we going to have? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that I feel like Trump is going to win, because that'll stir up Bible prophecy to culminate into this thing where evil will have to get even more eviler, because can't let this guy win. And not because Trump's not evil or he's good. It's the fact that he's not the guy that they want. And when you hear about the other side of ideologies, these satanic ideologies by all stretch of the imagination, okay? And just I've listened to things about, like, ploys to make sure he can't even take office, exercises to make sure that he can't take office. It's the same way as they were talking about in 2020 when Trump lost, is now they're talking about what if he wins. It is bad. It is bad. And I'm just holding tight to Jesus. So you should do the same. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.